In progress.
Hello, everybody. I even think this might be a record attendance for a full stack club. Uh, okay, we've got a couple of talks today, and we're going to try at the end as well to do a discussion and see if we can come up with uh, at least some ideas for generating some kind of standard repo that people can use. I don't think we'll finish it today, but we can maybe use that to take forward. Uh, so we've got two talks. Then at the end we do go down to the diner, and we do have a yeah. If you've got your mug, we do it all in one transaction. We do have a budget for drinks and stuff. So we're going to start with Logan, who's been investigating a tool called Renovate. I know some people have used it, or maybe thinking about using it, and then we're going to move on to Willem, and Alex is online. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Alex.
Alex is online.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Logan. I'm in Tolpe, so that's Andrew team, pretty much everyone's sitting here. I've been working on integrating a tool called Renovate. You might have heard of it. Basically, you can talk about how I've used it, and what I like about it so far, and hopefully how we can use it in the future. So, a bit of background about the team. We're mostly web development, so we have two internal packages that we work on. So, Tol UI and Tol SDK. So, Tol UI is our front end, so that's React TypeScript, and Python and Flask for our back end. Both of these are individually versioned and deployed. They're kind of combined in about 10 or 11 other web app repositories that we use. So what's the actual problem that we were facing? So obviously to build these internal packages, we were using a lot of third-party things. So for example, Chart.js, RSuite for the front end, Flask, obviously for the back end, and other libraries. As time moves on, these third-party packages obviously are updated, new versions are released, major versions, minor versions, whatever it might be. The versions we're using, they quickly become deprecated, doesn't take long. We're only human, so we forget to update it. We might be busy doing other things, working on other software. So, we might be running a version that's 5 years old or something like that. Obviously, and that is true, we are using a version that's 5 years old. And then there's obviously two problems that come with that. The old packages eventually become incompatible. We work on maybe a new feature or something, a newer library, and then suddenly we get legacy code errors, things aren't working, builds stop working. And then probably the slightly worse thing is security vulnerabilities. We're using a package that is 5 years old. Someone's probably figured out how to exploit it. Probably not ideal for us. So Renovate was a solution to this. So with Renovate, I'll just read off the board. Renovate is an automation tool that can be used to check for outdated dependencies, automatically create pull requests and update them in a safe and controlled manner. So pretty much exactly what we need a solution for. The reason I chose Renovate was it's highly configurable. So we have, like I said, 10 or 11 different web apps we need to use this for. Having that customization available is quite useful. Open source, that's kind of always a win. Don't have to pay for it. Community supported. Supports multiple language and platforms. Obviously, like I said at the start, we're using Python, TypeScript, React. We need that support for both of the packages. And then with the platforms, we're using GitLab, but if for whatever reason we move to GitHub, Bitbucket, whatever, we should be able to transfer it over quite easily. And then the other thing that I found, I'll go through our setup, but we managed to get a whole working proof of concept and pipeline going within less than a day. It's only basic, but less than a day is quite good. So there's a few, there's two main files you'll need. So I'll just quickly walk through them, just show you how kind of easy it is to get set up. So first one is this config.js. So the only prerequisites to this are you'll need a GitLab bot to actually run the pipeline and a Renovate repository. So this config.js basically just tells you which repositories you're running against, the bot you're using or the tokens you're using, and how you want it run. So here you can see we're running it against the Tol platform's components repository. So this is where the UI, the Tol UI package that I spoke about earlier, is housed. And And then you can add things like branch prefix. So basically saying when you create a merge request with the updates, just prefix with this. And that's pretty much all you need in that. That's as basic as it is. Then the only other really required one is this default.json. So this is saying the kind of packages you want to scan for. So it's our front end package. So want to have a look ideally at npm. Only want to look at our dev branch, and then you can't even go as far as customizing. Do you want to just minor patches, minor versions, patch versions, or major versions? And I think you can even get as kind of detailed as saying exact packages that you want it to look at, or ones you want it to ignore, and things like that. So it's quite granular. But that's our basic setup. And then in the actual repositories you want to set up, you can have this kind of automatically be built, but you just need the schema and basically where the Renovate repository lives. So it's platform/Renovate. You can go have a look at that on GitLab if you wanted to see it. So assuming you've set up the repository with just those two files, and you've got your GitLab agent, and you've got a pipeline running, this is what the merge request actually looks like. So I think this is just the minor and patch versions. It's updating, but you can see I quite like it because it's very clean. It says what is actually updated, the version it's put in, links to the actual packages if you want to go see them. You can set it to auto merge. We just haven't at the moment because it's kind of just proof of concept phase. It's quite clean. It's quite easy to see what you've actually updated, whether you want to accept it or not. And then this is the major one. So, you can split them up. So these are all the major changes you can see. It's quite bad. There's quite a lot that needs updating. Just ignore that. So yeah, it's quite clean. Cuts it off quite nice, and that's as easy as it was to set up.
I presume it runs the pipeline.
So I think it ran this morning at one in the morning. It just runs once a week for us.
It runs the CI pipeline.
Yeah. So it runs the pipeline, runs the job, and this will, if you for whatever reason you don't accept this merge request, you don't merge it, it will just go back and update it. So it'll reopen it and say, well, these versions have been released. So yeah, I guess, that's pretty much it for kind of setting it up and how easy and quick it was. There's a few things I'd like to see with Renovate, partly in our team and maybe across the Sanger, maybe. But obviously this is just a proof of concept for our front end. So this is the npm packages, React, that kind of thing. But I'd like to see it on the back end as well. So looking at the Python libraries, dependencies, doing the exact same thing, which should be easy. And then I mentioned earlier that we release both the SDK and the toll UI manually, deploy them individually. And then we have to go through and basically manually update our individual web apps, which can be quite tedious because, like I said, we have about 10 different repositories we then need to go through and say, well, version 1.2 of toll UI or something. But I think using Renovate, we could have some kind of automated deployment that automatically goes and updates all of our web apps, even if it's just minor and patch versions. So I guess that's another thing to consider. And then maybe something more applicable to everyone, but I think there's another team somewhere who uses Renovate. And I think I've had a discussion with another developer about this, but essentially having some kind of centrally hosted Renovate repository somewhere that other teams can use, because I imagine that most teams will be using it for similar things. And then if they need a more specific configuration, having some way to extend it rather than everyone having, every single team in the Sanger having the same repository repeated, dozens of times, seems a bit of a waste. But yeah, very short and sweet presentation, but is there any questions?
So one of the usual problems with updating dependencies is people are scared to do so because it might break a running app. So it generally works better when you've got tests and stuff like that this can run against. How do you manage that here? Or do you recommend people get started?
We're quite lucky. We've got, so like I said, we don't auto merge these at the moment, but we have, so if for example, if I go back to the merge request that we have, so it's created this merge request and it runs, we already have pipelines set up for our apps. So this is our component repository. So this is where our UI library lives, and you can see we have like test builds, so it builds our API, our UI, that's the migrations, even builds a review app, playwright test for the front end, that kind of thing. So it runs the whole pipeline. If any of those stages fail, it won't merge. That answers your question. Any other questions here?
are you worried about, especially if you turn on auto merging, the kind of automated supply chain hacking? I think is you basically manage to get a new version of a dependency, and all these things come along and say, "Oh yes, look at this," and put it in, and then auto merge it, and then bang goes your repository as well.
That's pretty much one of the main reasons I don't want to put auto merge on, because it seems like NPM has a blind chain attack every
And out of interest, does it yes pin the things by tag, or does it pin them by SHA hash?
I'm not actually sure. Probably by tag, but
And so that I know on GitHub action workflows, Renovate puts commit IDs, not tags, for that reason.
Yeah.
any other questions?
I mean, the worst thing of being not a question but a comment, which is the other two teams that I know that use this in the institute are PSD and Integration Hub. Yes, I know Integration Hub are spending quite a lot of time getting this going at the moment. It's definitely worth having a chat with them. Oh, and his hands are may have revoked. This is why it turns out they don't use it after.
Yeah, sorry, John. Yeah, we're mostly on GitHub, so we use Dependable. But the Integration Hub are looking at Renovate being on GitLab.
Sergeant also uses Renovate. Oh, okay. Look, which is for the room. How many people would use this if it was available? Nobody. If you wouldn't use it, why not?
We'll use GitHub.
If you want GitHub, yeah, okay. Yeah. So everyone's on GitHub that doesn't want to use it, basically. Is that right?
Well, I guess there are alternatives you can use.
That's which is why I'm asking about this one. So, you know, is there anyone who's using this or something else? Or?
Well, only dependable, as has already been said.
Yeah.
If it's got no win over that, that's so.
I don't know if it's kind of a question for yourself and also the room is if anyone's using kind of cooldowns. So in terms of the supply chain attacks, there's been some changes to actually allow you to say a cooldown when you say I won't install anything, say not be released for more than 7 days. It's the latest support for pip that allows you to do it relatively isn't out yet. But yeah, I wonder if that's something that you or anyone else is thinking of using.
We haven't used anything like that.
Tom's got his hand up again.
Yeah, we do. We don't do automated deployment without testing. So there's always a human in the loop. But yeah, we don't generally merge the cutting edge thing immediately. No, there's a cooldown.
Yeah, it's good to know. Yes, I would say I learned the other day that on GitHub in the actions there's there's a on pull request action, but there's also one that has I can't remember what it's called. It's pull request something, which has more abilities, including the ability to do things with your repository. And if you're not very careful with that, you can also leave yourself open to attack with somebody making a pull request. It doesn't have to be merged. So you do have to be incredibly careful with these things. Anything which can actually automate changes to your repository is a danger.
Is that just come back on? Is that with AI inside your CI being contaminated by a pull request?
No, that isn't with AI. This is again, I think, something managing to. Yes, you put in a piece of software and it can start reading tokens and things out of your. So it's quite a well-known route, but it doesn't need AI to do it.
Okay, so you're bringing a dependency or something into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to give a plug for the YouTube channel and Poe's talk a couple of times ago when we touched on. It was more about signing commits, signing releases and things, but it does touch on the same.
Where do you configure how frequently it runs?
That's just if I can find it. I've created a job somewhere. I might have to show you after this, but it's just on GitLab.
Is that a per repo thing or general thing for the, so there's less bot on its own?
It's a general thing. So it's the GitLab bot that I set up. You pass that list of in that config.js. Is it config? Yeah, the list of repositories, and it'll just go through. You can have it auto discovering things, but I find it's better just to keep it that way.
Just a question of Renovate, how many languages does it support? Just TypeScript and Python.
Not sure. I think it supports more than that, but I can confidently say.
It's pull request target, which is the dangerous foot gun in GitHub. So, yeah.
Anything else?
Stop.
No, I better. So, I unshare mine.